Wexler Clampett in Yaplank, near Patchogue. Oh, I know he lives. He lives! So be it. Amen. I have to sing this song to you. Remember, I'm a Methodist. It doesn't matter whether you can sing or not. Only the thing that counts is spirit. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross, where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. You've seen it happen. Who are the world of lost sinners? Who are they? The courts. And they were slain. And before you, I have laid down my trophies. And before you, I've exchanged them for a crown. These are the rhododendron of last spring outside of my nephew's house. Stephen and Terry. Terry sent me this gorgeous creation by God. Thank you, Terry, Ellingwood, Folsom, whom you've also met, folks. Remember we had that lovely trip down Route 1 in Maine from, well, we started at Gardner and then down around Freeport or Brunswick. We went on to Route 1 and went all the way to Wells and met Jane Dean. And Jane Dean and I came back to you in New York. We adore thee, Beethoven. I don't think Beethoven ever heard this. This is his 9th symphony and he was deaf by then. Alright folks, I wrote this open-faced letter on a 9x12 envelope to 14 judges. And the most recent judges are Angie Olillo, so-called Supreme Court, State of New York, County of Westchester. But he jumped up to the appellate division, which is that horrible place on Monroe Place in Brooklyn. And it was Angie Olillo, remember the dumb Harrison court, the clerks? I sued Charles Dolan, Cablevision, Mac Udil, Thomas Garger, Charles Former, Peggy Anderson, Christine Savarino, Cecilia Masterilli, Robert Callaghy, Sally Stevens, Burke and Burke, and Patricia Langeli in the Harrison Town Court, Westchester County, State of New York. And the dumb clerks made it into 2 cases, which was absolutely inexplicable. It's just plain stupidity. And I told them a dozen times, put the case back together the way I wrote it. And so when I appealed John Voch's bought and sold decisions, I told the appellate term what the Harrison court had done, so please put the case back together as I wrote it. You cannot change the caption on a case without an order. Motion has to be made, and it has to be an order issued. And so it goes down to the appellate term. And so they did what I asked them to. They put the case back together as one case, but they did it upside down. And who did this? Angio Little. Little tiny angel, Angio Little. Well, Angio Little was so successful and so competent at doing things upside down that they promoted him to the appellate division. So I sent him this open-faced letter on a 9x12 envelope. And then I sent it to the fiercely crooked Second Circuit in Manhattan. And I sent it to the Chief Judge, Jacobs, and I sent it to Kearse, K-E-A-R-S-E, a circuit judge, and to Jose Cabranes. No way, Jose. And I sent it to the current clerk of the court. They go in and out like a revolving door. And to an underling there named Patricia Chin Allen. And this is what it said. Over many months, Glendora has charged you on papers filed, on television, and on the World Wide Web of lying, cheating, and stealing, covering up, misrepresentation of material fact, of double-crossing your municipality, your state, and the USA, and failure to do your homework, reading the case, coming to the bench, prepared, violating Glendora's presumptive right that a judge must be fully aware of the facts and circumstances, fully skilled in the law, well-versed, and able to comprehend completely plain Anglo-Saxon language. Repeatedly, Glendora has found and articulated your resorts to ex parte, obfuscation, adumbration, dodges that, when pressed, explode into fugitivism and dictum, an odious violation of law, rules, statutes, and both constitutions, together with complete insensibility to Americanism, attachment and loyalty to the United States, its traditions, interests, ideals, surrendering to self-interest, ignoring public good. You blasphemed the First Amendment, the Fourth, illegal search and seizure, the Fifth, due process of law, the 6th, 7th, 9th, and 14th. You shamelessly disregarded the New York State Constitution, Bill of Rights, you had no statutory authority nor constitutional authority to do what you did. You failed at Title 23, the United States Code, 1654. Excuse me, that's not Title 23, it's Title 28. Pro se rights, and at Criminal Code, 18 United States 1001, You covered up material fact by scheme and by trickery. Fined in jail. You made a fool of yourselves, doing things backwards, upside down, and wrong side out. Backwards, upside down, and wrong side out. To inter, cover up, and shovel dirt over you leaned on constitutionally non-compliant law. Many laws are constitutionally non-compliant. You were never competent to deal with the gravamen before you, but faked non-issues that cost Glendora hours, dollars, and ergs to refute and set the record straight. You failed your duty to uphold 18 United States Code. Section 241, 3711, 401A, recall, 18 United States Code, Criminal Code 1962, Title 42 of the United States Code 1983, which you know by now is civil rights, and 1985, which you know by now is conspiracy. 47 of the United States Code, Section 521 et sequitur, which is the public access TV law, listing our rights in public access TV. Inter alia, you obstructed justice, 18 United States Code, Section 1503, I think it is. And Glendora abundantly notified you of your legal responsibilities and of fraud. Now, your fraud was an intention, perversion of truth, for the purpose of making another, in reliance upon you, to part with something of value. Thus, something of value, something belonging to him, thus, to surrender a legal right a false representation, this is what the judges did to people, of a matter of fact, by words and by conduct, by false and misleading allegations, by concealment of that which should have been disclosed, by concealment of that which should have been disclosed, which deceived and was intended to deceive, this is what the judges did, to thousands, to millions. So that we will act upon it to the legal injury. Glendora notified you of your failure to be equal to and commensurate to the requirements. You did not admit or deny. You did not answer, and by the law of effect of failure to deny, you agreed to all of her charges. And since you committed fraud, all of your rulings are nullities. I said they committed fraud. They admitted that they committed fraud, and when you commit fraud, it cancels everything. Therefore, it cancels all of their rulings against me. All of their rulings are nullities. Glendora wins, you judges lose. You owe Glendora $5,000. The costs and disbursements of this action, her filing fees returned, consumer fraud, together with 9% New York State statutory interest. There is no statute of limitations on fraud. Your whimpers are Glendora's triumphs, and you are hereby noticed. You took an oath to uphold the Constitution, constitutions. You failed to abide by that oath in the performance of your official duties. Denial of due process of law, denial of unbiased and unprejudiced. Thereby, you disqualified yourself. You failed to conduct a constitutionally compliant court. You therefore perjured your oath. Wherefore, you invoked the self-executing sections, mandates 3 and 4 of the 14th Amendment. 3, you lose your job as a judge. 4, you lose all your pensions. You vacated your office and you forfeited your benefits of your former office, including salary and pensions. You perjured your oath. You forfeited the bond that binds that oath, the sacred bond given in exchange for the public trust. Herein, Glendora incorporates all documents she submitted to this court, quote unquote, as if fully stated herein. With acquisitiveness for preferment, power, rank, wealth, and honor, greedy and grasping, and with no such acquirement achieved, people like you have made the courts a tavern where the elite meet to cheat. You judges have made the courts a tavern where the elite meet to cheat. With opacity and no sagacity, nor capacity, you listen to your mob-like bosses. And it was continued inside. And it was sent out on an open-faced 9x12 envelope to be read by everybody along the postal trail, and also where the judges could say, not say, they didn't receive it. The latest cheat, and last cheat I hope, is from the Second Circuit, when I appealed the cheating of Raymond Mordew and Randolph Treese in the federal courts in Albany, New York, and Syracuse, New York. When I appealed that to the Second Circuit said they had taken away my right to appeal. So I guess that letter that I just read you applies to those people. They lost, folks. They lost. I have caught the Second Circuit nearly 400 lies, 400 cheats. And this upped the number very close to 400. It was 10 lies. And it is signed by George Lange III and Lillian Carr. They are all imposters, and they are all cheaters, and they are all violators of the constitutions, and they are all perjurers of their oath. So goodbye, Second Circuit. However, we have a prayer for you. This is Martin Luther's hymn about the devils who are in the courts. About many devils, including the devils in the courts. We want to thank Terry Porter and Susan Kitty Cat in Peekskill and all of their helpers and fellow mourners for saving cats. Saving cats from the cold, from hunger, from lonesomeness, from the elements. And come January 1st, I think I'll have this $2,600 ripoff by George and Debbie Graham just to fix a gas line and a brake line. $2,600. I think we'll have that paid off. And they wouldn't let us pay in installments. They had to have the whole $2,600 instantly, or I don't get my car. I don't get the 1993 Lincoln. It's not mine, it's Franklin's, and it belongs to the Glendora Franklin Museum. Pro se, public access, newspaper museum. And so it had to be borrowed from that trust fund. And all of it's replaced except $500. And now we can get out and start sending the money to good people like Terry Porter and Susan Kitty Cat in Peekskill. We covered that. You got any announcement, folks? Let me help you with your announcements. I want to help you every way I can. I went to the Hopewell Reformed Church, Franklin and I did, for a couple of years, and the pastor there is the Reverend Taylor Holbrook, a 6'2", 3 or 4, size 40, and a good athlete, and a marvelous yeoman for Jesus Christ. And he participated in a hometown basketball. Well, they'd get together every Wednesday night and play basketball. Some regular people in the town, and he would go and play in basketball. And one of the rough and tough and ready persons who came every Wednesday night made a terrible, terrible shot. And he said, "Jesus Christ." And the Reverend Holbrook said, "Jesus Christ had nothing to do with that shot." Thank you, Reverend Holbrook, for all that you do for Jesus Christ, for our God, and for all the people that go to the Hopewell Reformed Church in the whole area, the whole Dutchess County area. That one I'll have to get out the book to read to you. I want to read you some of the poems written by Franklin Buell, my conjugal bliss for 48 years, who is up in heaven and who drops money down every month. And I want to tell you about MCI. They finally righted themselves. They sent the bill to the wrong person for over or maybe 2 years. And just blindly, by Braille, I would send out $45 the first week of every month. Well, I never saw the bill. I never knew what was going on. And somehow or other, they came up with an $18 deficit. And they blocked the long-distance service, which is considerable for Glendy. MCI says that Glendora makes 2,000 long-distance calls a month. And I believe that. And I'm interested in having the figure. So they ended up, and they kept the long distance off for 3 weeks. They called themselves a communications company. Well, finally, and then I sent them 2 checks. Since they turned it off, they got 1 check for $45. And then when they did this, it was only $18 or whatever, not even that. So I sent them 2 more money orders for $45. It took them so long to get it, and so long for them to post the payment. Finally, the blockheads unblocked the long distance. And now they owe me $30. So finally, I believe they have the right address. And finally, maybe I'm going to get a bill, so I'll know what's going on, and I can pay it. I appreciate James Dixon and the jokes that he sends me. I think one of the best jokes he sent me was the man came out of the kitchen into the living room and said to his wife, "There's 5 flies in the kitchen, 3 males and 2 females." She said, "How do you know whether they're male or female?" And he said, "Well, the 3 males are on the beer cans and the 2 females are on the phone." Thank you, James Dixon in Manhattan. And he has specials on Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And I think he is a consummate actor. This is a stack of letters from you, Mary Ramage. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for being solicitous of .com and Sebastian. And now we have a new kitty. Kitty number 3 was out in the field, lost, homeless, hungry, scared, lonesome. We finally talked him into, I kept feeding him. I bought him a doghouse for $45. And I didn't really have to because, don't you tell anybody, but he went into my neighbor's boathouse. So he had his own doghouse. But one day, and every time I'd go out to feed him, he'd run into the woods scared. And then one day I go out to feed him, and he's meowing, and he's talking to me, and he's rubbing his great big furry body up against my ankles. And I opened the door, and he came in. So now he has a home and a person. Let me go let him in. He just went by the door. Guess what his name is, folks? Amadeus. Kitty, 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 kitty.